My name is Nikki Magtoto. I'm the Senior Project Manager at SCRR. We are thrilled to be here listening and learning with Beverly, Michelle, and Nicole. Can you see my screen with our presentation names on it? Fantastic. The way this time will work together is each of our fellows will have 10 minutes to share about their capstone, and then we'll have a 10-minute group Q&A. If you were here for round one, this is just a repeat of that with 3 new folks to learn from. All right, Miss Beverly.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. I thank you for coming, and hopefully you will learn the process that I went through as I began my capstone project. My goal was to actually start working with youth who were in foster care, Head Start, and young men of color who were dealing with loss, but nobody was talking about it. As I started this process, Lenora said, okay, you have to put yourself into this story. And I said, no, I really don't want to. But she said, for you to pass it on, you had to go through the process. And so this is where I came to my soul looks back and remember. If I'm asking my young people to go back and to remember, I need to do the same thing. And why I remember, because I had a young girl, she was in Head Start, and usually people don't talk about young people who were dealing with a loss in Head Start, but they experience it as well. And sometimes if we don't pick it up, it will manifest into something else that will bring some other type of mental harm or self-harm. This young lady at 2 saw her father get killed in the kitchen. So when she came to Head Start 2 years later, she told the story through art. And we was all saying, oh, we need to call the mother right away. She's dealing with something right now. And when we finally called the mom said, oh no, that happened 2 years ago. And what stayed with me is that that baby held that trauma in her body for 2 years. And then maybe when she was able to find the words, she was able to say it through art. And we was able to pick it up. And we asked the mom, why didn't you try to get counseling? And she said, when my mother died when I was young and I went to counseling, it didn't work. So I didn't think it would work for my child. So now we're dealing with intergenerational harm, and we are not even addressing it until they get older. At the same time, as you see a picture of my mother's in her transitional stage. She is 89. I don't know when her time will come, but I need to remember the gift she gave me, and that's why I have the word remember. At times I thought I wasn't my mother, but I realized I became my mother, and sometimes I became the opposite of her. But I am her. And so this is when she was young, and I don't know much about her when she was young. She was beautiful. And when I first saw her picture, my first question was, who's this woman? Because she don't look like me. And I definitely don't look like her. But as time went on, she left me gifts. And I'm saying that because at this point, she doesn't remember who I am. She doesn't know my name. So while I'm waiting for her to move to the next level, I had to realize during the process that she doesn't know her daughter because she has dementia. So she's in the time when it's just her and her sister. But the gift of that is they love each other so much. And I don't have a sister. So I'm dishonored to be in the present, to know when she was growing up, there was a bond between the two of them. I pray that I have that with my cousin and my kids. And I only have 5 minutes to go. So next slide. So as I'm going through my process, because it's a process, I came to another part of my project where I'm learning that people are not talking about dehumiliation for my people who I serve in the urban area. There's a trauma that takes place and it stays there because nobody wants to open up that container so we can get it out. And I learned about this because I'm loud. My mother said I'm a loud person and she would never come see me as pet squad. But then I said, that's okay, because I'm loud. And then I realized why I'm loud, because my kids used to play basketball. And I'm going to say this really quickly, is that when it was time, you finish the game, you shake everybody's hand. Well, this particular school, these kids spit in their hands, so they didn't have to shake our children's hands. And all the children on our team was kids of color. And my kids did not understand that. So as I continued to learn why is that taking place, I'm now realizing we are still doing that to children of color. We're doing that to young ladies. And nobody is having a space for them to say, why do people make me feel unworthy? So my capstone now is I want to continue to create a space where my children and the people that I serve, as well as foster care children, find a place where they can let that hurt out and not be traumatized, to be put down. Oh, you're not supposed to remember that, because right now they are banning everything that tells their history. Because see, I go back to Emmett Till and to Trayvon Martin. Trayvon Martin is in my century. Emmett Till was before I was born. So I know that there's something that we need to do to open that up so my kids don't harbor that and they become angry and they turn their rage against them. So part of my project is I created a book, and you may not be able to see it. Oh, here's my book. Where as I'm learning to tell my story about my mother, I'm also telling the story about how my kids and I dealt with the dehumanization. And we'll save it for the next generation that comes in our family. Because see, I have grandkids that play sports too. And the way this world looks right now, I need to make sure that they love and know that we have strength. If we overcame it then, we can overcome it now. And if I have little kids, I have a little circle. It's hard to see, but I have a little cake plate that they can make a collage. Because the children in Head Start can also tell their story of pain. See, I have to have a way for my children to learn it's okay to talk about it. We look at pain and it's hurtful. But I have one thing to ask you, and then I'm going to go to my last part of my story. If you ever gave birth to a child, did you go through the pain? And when that child came out, it brought you joy. So if we're able to remember and push out those things that gave us pain as we're growing, can you imagine where we're able to go and what we're able to do to make this world a better place, even in their little spot, in their community? In the midst of me doing what I'm doing for myself, I always got to take a pause. I don't know when this project is going to be done, but it will be done because it was brought to me because I had to trust the process. So in the midst of my pause, I go hug a tree, I go to the water and cry, and I also walk and pray. So I want everyone to remember whatever we went through, there's a gift there. There's a precious gift. As my mother is transitioning, I thank her for the gift because I know she loved me. I know I wasn't the best child, but we made it through. And one of the things I hear my grandkids say that my mother passed on to me and I passed on to my daughter: see you in the morning, and we all say with God's help. because my mother was a woman of faith. So I know I won't see many of you that's in this project or listening to me right now, but I do hope whatever you do, you keep finding time to pause and leave gifts and gems and quotes to the next generation. So when we move on, they have those words to keep them going. Because I know all our generation, whatever ethnic group we came from, we went through some pain and trauma, but there was words that kept you going. So I hope you hold on to those words. And I thank you.
Thank you so much, Miss Beverly. The parts that you all won't see today is the journey that all of our fellows have been on, and it's been like really amazing and beautiful to witness from individual levels, collective levels, people starting their sort of life's work in this moment potentially. So Ms. Beverly, thank you so much. We had a tender moment yesterday that I'm still holding on to, so thanks. All right, Michelle, would you like to kick it off and tell me when to move your slides, please, so that we can just get going.
Wow. Also, just wanted to just take a moment to pause and just honor Miss Beverly and just hearing her and just being, I'm just like, just taking it all in because it's a lot. So thank you all for being here. I'm honored to be one of SCRR's leadership fellows. And I just wanted to give a shout out to the fellows, all of you here, Leora, especially Nikki, because she's been my mentor and supported me through my Capstone project. So for those who don't know me, I'm Michelle Fortunato Kewin. I'm based out of Daly City, which is a little bit south of San Francisco. And I like to describe myself as a macro school social worker because I mainly work in the district office. So yeah, my capstone really is focusing on how we use using social media as a tool for school crisis recovery. Can we go to the next slide, Nikki? And to give you just a little bit of context and kind of explain my journey into deciding this, I wanted to really start off with this quote. Because also social media is kind of a random thing when we're talking about school crisis recovery, but I think this quote really speaks is what is so powerful about social media is the social piece, connecting people through a shared experience. And this quote's by an educator out in Massachusetts, Stephen Anthony Guerrero. I'm hoping I'm saying his last name correctly. I also linked the article that this quote came from, just because he really talks about using social media in schools and the power of that. I think in this work, I've been doing, crisis is kind of my jam. I love it. I've worked in so many different schools and the fast pace of it, but also just really looking at the just different policies, procedures around it. And as we were going through the teachings this semester, this past school year, hearing people's stories, hearing people's work, I think one piece that I was seeing that was missing is how is social media connecting to, how are we using that through our work? I've created this guide basically talking about how we can use social media as a tool in our work as school crisis leaders. And the beauty of social media, there's a lot of concerns with social media. I want to put that out there. But also there's a way that we can connect with folks through social media, through images, through storytelling, through quotes and all of these different pieces. I'm just thinking of the efforts that's happening nationwide with a lot of the university encampments and supporting Gaza, and just we're seeing all of these things happening live. And I wanted to create something that bridges social media and the work we do in schools, because it's also where a lot of our young people, they're getting their information from. our families and just thinking about the accessibility of social media, especially if you have tech. I don't know. I know some second graders that I was told that have an Instagram. So how, Nikki's like nodding her head. I'm like, yeah, I don't know about a second grader having Instagram, but just really thinking of how we can use this really as a tool when we're connecting, communicating, and bridging these gaps around communication in our schools. I specifically wanted to focus on the school recovery stage. I could have focused on response or renewal, but I feel like a lot of communication happens right in the beginning stages of a crisis or when a crisis is happening, and really wanting to honor the time, couple months to this first 3 months, 6 months, a year, when after a crisis has happened, and how do we use social media as a way to bridge some of these connections, for our young people, for our families, for our communities. Yeah, next slide, please. I also just want to give context. So in my role, again, as a school social worker, I also do a lot of work in as an adjunct lecturer, a couple different universities, and I've used social media as a tool for a lot of different things through teaching. So for folks, I know some folks in here who know me, I love memes, I love resources that are on social media, and I think it's a way sometimes I use it as a tool, again, for teaching, but for learning. And in creating this guide, I wanted to create something, hopefully my goal was a 1 to 2 page document. It's now 3 to 4 pages. Really this slide just kind of gives you an overview of what's in it. Using kind of the benefits and tools of how we use social media, just really considerations around content. My hope is to create more sample content, some sample posts, and really a lot of resources on how we create content to share with our students, our families, and our communities after a school crisis and through the recovery stages. This is a sample post I created through Canva. Luckily, is for the most part can be free and it can be used. I see a lot of our schools now creating content in different languages and sharing stories and showing kind of live. When we've recently had a death in one of our schools, they were doing a memorial for one of our students, and they asked for permission to live stream it on Instagram just for folks who could not be there. So I'm just thinking of the power of how we can use, again, social media, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, even though TikTok's going to be banned in a year, to connect with, again, our students, our families, a lot of our schools. I'm thinking of our young people who are the content that they're creating, and how we partner with our young people and what would work with them. In terms of learning about supports, connections, activities. There's a lot of content around like mindfulness exercises, and kind of showcasing what students are doing. I know lunchtime activities get shown, or even again, memorials that are being held and memorialized. It's also a way for us, I think it was when Miss Beverly was talking about like having a tool and having something for future generations to have. I'm just thinking of like with social media, especially when you have a school page, we can look back at some of those pieces to remember, to remind us. And also we can reuse a lot of the content that we've created in the past. So this guide that I'm creating is still in draft mode. So it's still in process, but my hope is in the next month that it will be shared out with the SCRR community. And be used by all of you. And also my hope is also to continue to get feedback, especially from our young people, because I think our young people is who's using this more, and how we can make this accessible to them, or what can be, how we can use social media to connect with them. Can we go to the next slide, please? So after all of our teachings, I've like went and found everyone who's on social media, and kind of really started following them. And I try with our schools to kind of follow our school social media pages. But I think as I continue this work and as I'm thinking of this work, the reason why I also wanted to use social media is because to me, it's a creative outlet. So I think for me, I think about how do we use social media and just addition to that, technology in a creative manner. There's a lot of healing that can happen through these spaces. And then how do we connect and collaborate with our students, families, and communities through social media and technology? I love uplifting what our communities are doing, especially with a lot of them who, again, are holding various events or providing supports to our families in our districts, in our areas. So that's kind of where I'm kind of thinking and going next. This quote is from Gustave Lausel, who's an immunologist and a public health advocate. And it kind of sums up where I want to see this work continue is community leadership is the courage, creativity, and capacity to inspire participation, development, and sustainability for strong communities. And so that's just kind of where I'm thinking of how, again, we use these tools to continue our work in school crisis recovery and kind of connecting with our communities. So that's where I'm at with my project. Again, shout out to my fellow folks. Thank you all.
All right, thank you, Michelle. And Nicole, so this session is we brought folks together to kind of talk about strategies to engage us in recovery. So Miss Beverly talked about storytelling. Michelle has spoken about social media, and Nicole is going to speak to us a little bit about maybe podcasting. So go ahead, Nicole.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Nicole Barnes. Thank you for being here. My presentation is going to bring you into the setting of the work I've been doing and talk about a few aha moments that have come to light through the fellowship and then where the work is going as we move forward. I applied my capstone to some ongoing work that we've been doing with my program, my school-based program. And we'll get into exactly what that work looks like as we talk today. So the setting involves two major systems, a healthcare system and the education system, both two main systems that are in all of our communities and will always be in all of our communities. I am an employee of the Park Nicollet HealthPartners system, which is a system that employs over 26,000 employees. In my organization, the foundation of our healthcare system supports the Growing Through Grief program, which I am the program manager for, and we do school-based grief support. So we partner with 16 school districts in our neighborhoods, serve over 900 students in grief support sessions throughout the school year, and then collaboratively support 20 to 25 death-related crisis events each school year. So there's a lot of grief and trauma involved in supporting and managing the crisis events that are happening in our school districts. This capstone and project involved our partnership with the Minneapolis School District. The Minneapolis School District is a school district of over 34,000 students. There are over 5,000 staff. The average household income is $47,000 a year. There's 91 schools. 62% of them of the students are BIPOC, and the remaining are white. Park Nicollet and Minneapolis School District have been in partnership for over 17 years, providing grief and trauma support. There's been multiple crises over that time. Recently, in the last few years, the crises have elevated. There's been a lot happening. The pandemic, of course, is one that we're all have been exposed to, causing isolation and leaving people without their places of safety and community. The social unrest and the immense sadness of several Black community members that were murdered, including George Floyd in 2020, Winston Smith in 2021, Dante Wright in 2021, and Deshaun Hill in 2022. And then followed shortly after that, a teacher strike, which really was out to help staff find control in a situation that felt like there was no control. The community was responding to the layers of grief and trauma. and it was real. I was scared. I was scared personally. I was watching businesses being boarded up. I was traveling home and honoring curfews so the riots would not affect myself and my family. And I watched the people I collectively do work together with in schools respond to the grief and trauma in our neighborhoods. I called my family members to make sure they were okay. It was just a really real time of feeling constant stress and insecurity amongst all the loss. So as we moved back into the school setting, Minneapolis and Growing Through Grief came together in hopes to respond to the student grief and trauma. When the schools first came back, they were in organized trauma. There was lots of chaos and there was lots going on. Some of the interventions were great, some of them were not so great and did more harm. But we tried. We came together and we developed a CARES program, which has responded to all these needs, these emotional needs, and this emotional crisis that our students were experiencing. There is a handout that is available in the documents afterwards when you go to the website that explains the curriculum and a little bit more in depth about the program. We made progress. About 85% of our kids were entering into the CARES program saying, you know, I'm not sure, this doesn't make sense. I'm doubtful. I don't really know if this is for me. By the end of the 8-week group, the kids, 90% of the kids were saying, yes, I'm glad I attended. Yes, I found trust. Yes, this made a difference for me. So we knew we were making progress. As we move into the next slide, I can talk a little bit about some of the aha moments that made me realize we haven't made enough progress yet. The first moment was when I was talking to Leora, the project director, and we referenced a report called she referenced me to a report called the Healing Systems Report. Now, this is a report that comes out of San Francisco, California, that talks about the importance of system structures being in place to help support the caregivers, support the clients. And without those system structures, the work is just not sustainable. And that was my question that brought me into my capstone. It was, is this CARE program enough? Are we doing enough? That the counselors and myself, we question this often, like, is this enough? And it isn't enough, and that's why we have to do more. But part of what we need to do more is dive deeper into the staff support and the system structure of enabling security all around students and staff and environment in helping people feel safe. My second aha moment was meeting with Dr. Schoenfeld, the director of the Coalition for Grieving Students. And I was explaining the CARES program and we asked him about, you know, are we on the right track, you know, trying to get some confidence in the work, and, you know, tell me a little bit more from your position if this sounds right. And he says, yeah, it sounds right. He says, but you're missing, what you have set up is not enough for the staff. You can't just provide education, training, and materials. You need to provide more for the work to be sustainable. I was like, oh, yeah, okay, that makes sense. And then the third moment of aha was my own engagement in self-reflection and in the recovery and renewal tactics that the fellowship has brought to light for me. There were so many opportunities. Some were as simple as pausing when I transitioned from work to going into a meeting, that taking like 5 minutes to collect myself and pause so I can be fully present. Another more in-depth way was a 4-hour training that I attended that went over all sorts of renewal strategies that a person can take. I experienced reflection, being still, which was one of the disciplines I really need to work on, being calm, storytelling in a way that witnessed, listening to music, body moving, giving permission to be who I am without apology, poetry, meditation, the importance of naming and norming, knowing it's okay to not be okay, as Megan Devine would quote, and using art such as the Latino practice of altar making to remember a loved one. That's a lot of ahas. The fellowship was a blessing in my life, and it made me realize that this is the work that we need to do to keep moving forward with the capstone work that we've started in Minneapolis. And the next slide will show you a link. Minneapolis School District and Growing Through Grief, myself, we're going to come together and share this important work that we've started, and we'll continue the journey with on a podcast that is generated through the HealthPartners healthcare systems. It's an off the charts podcast examining health inequities in our community. We experienced lots of racial trauma, grief and trauma disproportionately hits BIPOC students. And we need services to help care and support those students, and to bring us together collectively as a community and as staff, as allies of each other and each other's work, to care. So the fellowship asks a lot of provoking questions that make you think. So if you're not interested in thinking, you probably don't want to apply for the fellowship, because they make you think deeply about different things. They asked at one time, what kind of legacy do you want to leave behind? And instantly, I'm an S on the DISC profile, so I like steady, calm, and predictable. Great for crisis management, not so great for renewal. So I said, calm, focused, and flexible. Those are the words that hang on my desk. Those are the words I go to when I know I may respond emotionally, when I may respond rigid. I go to calm, focused, and flexible. But the more I thought about it, I can't just leave a legacy of those 3 words. I have to have bad, baffled, and beautiful added. Because I want to be known as someone who takes on the challenges of the bad days, even when I don't know what the answers are, even when I don't know how to do it. I want to be able to leave a legacy that says I'm brave enough to do it. I want people to know that I don't always do it right, that I could think everything I've set up and done is perfect, but things still don't turn out right. And those are the days I'm baffled. It's like, why didn't it turn out right? I want to recognize that there's bad and baffling days in our work and in our journeys, but we need to live for the beautiful days. We need to live for the days we can share a smile together, when we can pause together, when we can feel each other's heart rates, whether they're speeding up or slowing down, when the grass is green, when my dog licks my face for the 100th time, when my grandbaby calls me Nana, whatever it is, we need to live for the beautiful days while we're recognizing the bad and baffling days. That's how this work will move forward.
Thank you, Nicole. What just preach, what a moment. What a wonderful sandwich of presentations we've just had. That's what I'm going to call it. We're going to shift to group Q&A. Again, thank you all, our 3 fellows who just shared. We will open up the floor. We have about 8 minutes for questions. And I can kick us off just so that we don't lose time. What have each of you learned about yourselves as school crisis leaders over the time that we've been together?
I could go. Thanks, Nikki, for that question. The touchy-feely stuff is hard. and I think as I'm reflecting on this, like, And I think what like Nicole said, like y'all ask us like really deep, thought-provoking questions, which was good. And I think that's been my challenge because again, I am like, boom, this is a crisis, this is what I know what to do. Trying to like tap in, yeah, is been my challenge, and that's my work. Yeah. So I think it being able to like sit and reflect and slow down and what everyone was saying, it's like what Nicole's I put that I love, like the bad, baffled and beautiful. I'm like, oh, that needs to be tattooed. New tattoo, BBB. But see, that's also how I go. I start becoming humorous. So that when I get uncomfortable, I start making fun of stuff.
Takes one to know one.
I know, Nikki, me and you are same page.
Amen, Michelle. You know, even though we're leaders and in this fellowship, I found myself really challenged to get out of my head and to get into my heart. And that was one of the only directions we got today when we were presenting. And I was like, I'm having a hard time there going there. And I have teared up probably 3 times this afternoon between listening to people and preparing to share my heart. And it's a good thing. It's a good thing. It's hard, but it's good.
Well, I teared up yesterday talking with Nikki trying to get my stuff together because I was having a meltdown because I couldn't get my slides in. And I'm saying, oh my goodness, I got to get 3 slides. I got to do this. So I cried more and I just asked myself, okay, hopefully people will understand if I cried today. But today was a loving day because every person I heard in round 1 and round 2, we're all about loving whoever we are supposed to serve or who we choose to serve. So maybe they won't get burned out. They will be the next one that will pass it along to keep this going forward. And I love the social media because you just said you. Now we know adults, we on that social media too. So
That's all I was gonna ask folks. I was like, how many of y'all are doom scrolling right before you go to sleep or first thing in the morning? But yeah.
Someone mentioned this in the last session and now just the pieces together. Like I really want there to be like one shared creation that brings all these together into like, cause I like Michelle, what you're doing. And then the last session I was like, oh my gosh, there's all these like great recommendations that they got from students and like, oh, we could put them into the feed. Like it all connects together. And also just I just have to say the bravery of being able to sit and be vulnerable and ask these questions that everyone has showed is profound, and it is really giving me some hope in a time where it's kind of a little bit hard to find. And so thank you all for modeling that for us.
So, and I would like to echo the sentiments and thank you for humanizing this very difficult journey that we all share together, share this space together. And it's, what is that saying? Without breakdowns, we cannot have breakthroughs. So thank you for your work.
We have about 3 minutes. So if anyone else has a question, please feel free.
I think mine is more just like a comment and another appreciation for our presenters. I think what I've worked with like middle school students for 17 years, and I think about my different experiences with them and how you know, they're going to tell you how it is, right? And they want you to bring your authentic self. And so I've really appreciated today that mirroring of that, even though everybody did all this like real work, like it's so powerful when the adults, while they're providing a container, but they're also just bringing their real selves and their emotions. And I think that's like a powerful reminder for all of us in working in crisis recovery and renewal. So I just appreciate that and just how hard it is to present over Zoom to people that you don't know. So even if like people's slides didn't work or whatever, like we would never know. I just like appreciated your authentic beings. Like I've already learned a lot today too. So thank you.
All right, 1 minute. Any burning question, burning thoughts from our fellows? Any appreciations? We have 1 minute.
I just want to thank the audience for being here. I mean, y'all, there's so many to choose from, and it's so hard. I wanted to go to everybody else's. And just again, appreciation to the other fellows, but then also to Nikki and Leora, like y'all, there we go. Yeah, there's the behind the scenes stuff that they've been doing and supporting us throughout the how many months has been, yeah, so grateful. Yeah, but just also, yeah, I want to make sure we shout out the folks who are here because we're doing this work because of you, the work, the community. Lots of love and appreciation to all.
Okay, our countdown clock has started. I'm gonna stop our recording. We're gonna go to the big room and do a little closing. Thank you all for being here.